Hey, everybody. Yeah. Welcome. Oh, man, we got an echo going on. Welcome to LivLive episode 17, November 5th. We're starting a little late today because my good buddy, genius friend, the elusive Todd Kuhlman is here. He's just a hard dude to get a hold of. He's always got something going on. Todd, what is up, man?
Mr. Pollard, pleasure to be here. I can tell you, I look at this screen, but my camera's over here. Let me move you my screen. I would say that any day that's a Dave Pollard day is a good day in my book.
Well,
and, I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, likewise, my friend. Just a little background for everybody. Todd is an architect. You're in San Diego, right?
Yep, North County, San Diego.
We met working together almost 20 years ago at Optima.
Almost 20 years ago. That's right.
And that was in Scottsdale. So we're working on the Camel View Village project. I think I was shipped out there. I don't think they really knew what I was going to do. They just knew that they needed help.
They just wanted to send me someone to play with, and that way I can have more fun.
And that you did. You taunted me a fair amount. Not really too much. No, we got along really well because we. I was there to assist you, to learn from you, to help to implement your design intuition and help it come to fruition across all the roof terraces, if I remember correctly. And so we worked on a lot of plants. We planted some big trees.
We poured some concrete too, as I remember.
I believe there was some concrete being poured. I learned a little bit of Spanish. Mas tierra, I think, meant more dirt.
Mas tierra. That's one I know. I still don't know much, but I know más trabajo aquí. That means more work here, and that's how I would say dig.
Hey, it worked. And I think it was like 19 acres of green roof that we were designing and planting.
Something that really came out great. I haven't seen it in I left when my daughter was 1 and she's 18. I haven't seen it in 17 years.
I feel like I was there maybe right before COVID, so maybe 5 years ago or something. There's one tree that's just sitting up. I think I sent you a photo of it. I'm like, they might want to prune that giant tree, 80 feet in the air. But
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, we don't have a whole lot of time. I know you got kind of a hard stop, but I'd love to dig in. I want to know what you're doing now, but I also want to dig into kind of your history at Optima, because you were there from school into 2008, and you were pretty much involved in every project, which every project was a prototype of some sort, don't you think?
Well, yeah, every project. I got there in 1989, and it all ties together with my teaser. I told you I was going to wear something racy. My teaser, it ties together. In 1989, I was working downtown at an architectural firm, and I got a call from a good friend of mine who I saw 2 weeks ago, Tom Rozak, and said, "Hey, you want to join Optima?" And Tom and I were athletes in the athletic department. Teaser.
At IIT, yeah.
Anyhow, at IIT, and so I did, and so David Hoagie started the company in 1978, and so not all the projects before 2008 was I involved in, but a good majority of them. So I got shipped out to the job site in 1989. I boogied back and forth from IIT between 7 a.m. starts on the job site and 12 o'clock being back on campus to play baseball or go to school or, have practice or what have you. And eventually, mixed in some, schoolwork. And certainly beer drinking, et cetera, et cetera. And when I graduated in 1990, I obviously stayed with Optima, and by 1992, just the luck of the draw and the way the economy worked out back then, I was 22 years old, and I was the head architect, if you will, other than David Hovey.
Right.
How the hell did that happen? I don't know. It just seemed to work out that way. And so, yes, I've told this story recently too. Alfred Caldwell told me that Mies told him that he wished he wished he could have every architectural student for 10 years instead of 5. And I had David Hovey for nearly 20 years as my architectural professor. So that's kind of how it works. So everything I do and done and probably will do is certainly framed through that experience, and sometimes through that lens even,
Totally.
Yeah.
And so what project were you first head architect on?
It was called Northfield, in simple terms, but I think they called it was called Meadow Lake, I believe. And by being head architect is they needed someone in the office to do the drawings. And so and so I had proficiency at this, and I had been on the job site for a couple of years. So I knew what the hell they were all talking about, and I knew what David was looking for. And frankly, I knew what the drawing should look like, and so I became the elder statesman and the one who ran the teams, and the teams were guys younger than me, you know what I mean? And at the time, Optima is a multi-billion-dollar business. Now, at the time, it was, 2 draftsmen and me. We did everything pen, ink on Mylar. And, we just started, and, and that's kind of what I did, and, grew within the organization. Yeah.
So when David would, I was there, when the company was a lot larger.
Yes.
Certainly, right?
Yeah.
So I never really got to see the seed planted of a new project. Like when David would just show up with one of those, because he has these like really colorful crayon sketches. They're really beautiful. When you just show up with this conceptual sketch, like what would you guys say? You're like, okay, like I don't really know what this thing is or what we're gonna build here. How to take?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like, so yes, David always designed on graph paper, still does, with his colored pencils, still does. Tapes them together in every configuration, draws all over them. And yeah, at the end of the day, it was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And he would say to us, and this is the floor plan, and these are the wall sections, and, translate this onto a site plan. Okay, well, by that time we kind of knew what it was pretty clear what he wanted. This was the grid spacing, this was the column layout, this were the sizes of and placements of the building. Yeah, of course, I would have questions to ask him, but I remember another one of his beautiful sketches on the Northfield project, which was meant to be a 3-story cast in place concrete building, much like the building he had just finished, which was in Evanston called North Point. And I had worked on that, so I knew exactly what the hell he wanted to do. And then as time grew on, we modified the building, and we would use whiteout, and we whited out the columns, and the drawing was the same. You know what I mean? And we whited out the concrete floor slab and made it a joist system. And it was the same drawing, version 6 at the end of it, by just photocopying and what have you. And so, when we would do that on every project, and in all of David's books, there's all these sketches are there, and some people probably couldn't understand them, but I was trained to understand them,
Yeah. Well, and you kind of said it was a cast in place building, and we had just done a cast in place building. So, certainly the projects are, iterative, and you kind of see what's going on in Arizona right now with like the Kierland developments.
Yes.
Are an evolution of an earlier concept, which kind of started at Camel View, and we were kind of trusted in figuring that one out.
Yeah.
Were there a lot of different? Go ahead.
Every building seemingly started from the point where we left off. So David made abundant use of precast concrete as he started his company. Because one of my earliest memories of being on a job site in 1989 was the four wall theory. Also goes back to my teaser. And the four wall theory was, and I saw it clear as day. I'm like, oh my God, there's an empty shell of a building. There are two walls, planks, concrete, horizontal concrete hollow core planks, and they stood. I'm like, that's it. And it's simplistic. And it is most simplistic. That's a building. And that's how you build. You put stuff that goes this way on top of stuff that goes this way. And it was so simple, and speed of erection was quite easy. And it was a masonry bearing wall thing. And he did that at his first project in Hyde Park, second project here, third project there, fourth project, the project I worked on in Northbrook, all the way to North Point, as I said, which was 1990-ish. And then eventually that kind of phased out and we went in a different direction. And then eventually we got to the high rises. And those high rises in Arizona are iterative. Yes, they started. Camel View was a steel structure. And then everyone would say, God, we hated that steel structure or whatever. Or that steel structure was too complicated and expensive. So the next one was the same version, wide out the steel structure and put in, concrete structure. And the next one was, whatever, 3 stories, and the next one 6 stories. So, okay, now we have bigger structure, whatever, but he would develop and does develop them, shakes out the issues, solves the problems, as we all should be doing, right? You solve the problems and you learn from them and you can take it onward to where you are going next. And if you're successful at it, you don't have to work as hard on the next one because you've solved all the problems, and you brought along your solution already. Yeah, which who doesn't like,
Yeah. Well, then there's the houses. There's the Desert Mountain houses.
Yeah.
Is that 5 or 7 or something like that?
We did 4 houses out there to
okay.
begin with. And those were steel wide flange structures. We changed one of them to a glue laminated structure to offer variety and have a different relationship of the building to the natural environment. So, and some people don't like steel and glass as their house. They like wood and wood, and it feels more warm.
Wood and glass.
That's right. And the building that we finished with, and then there were more, but that's David Jr. and his father's kind of efforts that I wasn't necessarily part of, other than advising, right? Like, so now I'm the freaking advisor, helping David tell his son how to do what he's supposed to do, because he doesn't know what his dad necessarily at that time wanted, but I did,
Right.
And so that's, I think, I've told this story before. By the time I finished the last house, I didn't even follow the drawings, which is not necessarily true, but we use a cast in place concrete system, a 7-foot module, such and such, blah, blah, blah. And, if you look at where the walls were placed, they're on the module, and so if the drawing said 6'8 3/4 and the module line was off by an inch, you didn't use 6'8 3/4. I didn't even care. I'm like, I'm putting a wall on the module line. It's easy. You know what I mean? And so even when I first met you, I used to joke out at Camel View that my job is to line things up with invisible lines. And those invisible lines are the module lines or the column lines, or as in the IIT campus, it's an underlying grid that permeates through everything and is rigidly adhered to when possible, because IIT is not as pristine as that grid implies. It's for instance, it's allegedly a 24-foot grid. Crown Hall's on a 10-foot module, not a 12-foot module. The towers are on 10-foot modules, not 12-foot modules. So I haven't gotten much further into, now 40 years later, since I showed up at IIT, I revisited it a little bit recently, part of the teaser, and realized it's not as accurate as it sounds like, or not as simple as it sounds like, and I want to do more research because I'm sure it's there that I'm just missing because I'm looking for it, you know what I mean, other than studying from it. Yeah. So yeah, that's how that works. Meaning that's how David designs. Everything is on the module. It's prefabrication, it's repetition, it's speed in theory, it's simplicity in theory. And whether the part is a solid wall at the courts of, or at North Point, let's say, it's on a module, or glass with louvers hanging off a prefabricated curtain wall panel that has blades on the outside and gets lifted into place. It's the same thing, and the connections are different. And, of course, the transparencies are different, and, the composition of the wall is different. And one thing that clearly happened is, as life goes on, things get a bit more sophisticated as you keep going,
Sure.
And so David was part of CF Murphy, and Helmut Jahn took over the CF Murphy when David was there from Charlie Murphy. It became Murphy Jahn, which became Helmut Jahn. So Helmut and David are friends, certainly were friends before Helmut's passing. But if you went to O'Hare Airport and drove through the, whatever the circles, you would see Helmut's first building, and you would see Charlie Murphy's building, Helmut's building, and then you would see Helmut's new building, right? And I remember this from when I lived there before 2000, when I left, is the Helmut's first building there, if I remember, it was very kind of had some points and kind of like wing kind of structures, and they were very simple. And the new building had these wing structures that were grand, but they were still wing structures, you know what I mean? And you can see the development of it between, the earlier Helmut building and the one that's, I think they're all still there, but the one that we all know.
Yeah, the United, yeah.
Yeah, the United Terminal and also. Yeah, so, David and Helmut influenced each other. So has Helmut influenced me? Not especially, except through David.
Yeah, and I mean, to all the challenges with Murphy, with some of Helmut's buildings, I've always loved the laboratory and the evolution of them. Right, the Thompson Center to the Sony Center. Yeah, right. Is like another perfect example of it, right?
And the revisiting,
not taking themselves too seriously, just trying to bring something new and special to the world.
Yeah, and what I really find fascinating, I didn't see it recently when I was in Chicago, but I've seen some images of it, and I'm really quite pleased with the transformation that Google's giving it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the new life that it's giving it, and I only believe Helmut would applaud it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that takes us to what the heck? Because I know we don't have a whole lot of time. What the heck are you doing now, man? What's up?
Is there a place to play videos?
Oh, geez. I don't. This is a live show. I don't know that I'm going to allow that.
Okay, well, it's not nasty.
We can put it in the show notes. Can you describe? I don't know. You
Yeah,
might be able
I was
to
just asking because it would have been fun to show you my teaser. So, as I said, I'm. I'll give you the quick version. What I do in my daily work is try to find interesting work and collect money to pay my people and, keep me and my family indoors. So far, so good. What I also do in my life is try to find how to not do that and to create avenues for me to get the projects that I would prefer to be doing and all. And sometimes it's just dumb luck, and sometimes it's, because I'm a fun guy to be with. I got a call, and this has led to some other things, but this is the teaser, and this is what I want to close with. And I've been meaning to show you and tell you, but I can't show you today. I'll show you later. I got a call a year and a half ago from the Illinois Tech athletic director. Says she wants to meet me. I'm like, Okay. So she wants to have lunch. I'm like, well, if the athletic director's calling me, wants to have lunch, I want to go have lunch with her. Had lunch with her, hit it off. We became quick friends, and with no agenda, no nothing. She was out in California, wanted to meet some alums. Okay, great. Fast forward some months, and I got a call from her. She said, I got to talk to you right away. I mean, I got to talk to you like right away. And I'm like, okay, well, how about tomorrow, right? Okay, good. So got on the phone with her and the baseball coach. And I had briefly talked to the current baseball coach when I first met her. Anyway, they said, blah, blah, blah. Some other schools in the area don't have athletic facilities and are looking to contribute the dollars that they can raise to put lights, for instance, at the IIT baseball field. And so the IIT baseball field is just a field. It's got no lights. It has 2 dugouts. It's sitting in the middle of an unutilized field, athletic field. And that hasn't changed since I've been there. And it probably hasn't changed in 40 years since before I got there. And the coach basically went on with a little bit more of some of the impetus and said, would you like to? And I said, yes. And I didn't even let him finish because I knew what he was going to ask me. And what he wanted to ask me was, would I be interested in working on a baseball stadium to be named for the coach I played for, who's since retired? And because I was an alumni of the athletic department and I was an alumni of the architecture school, I was an alumni of baseball, and I played for this guy. And I was the only architect who ever played for this guy. And my charming disposition, they said, do you want to be the architect of this stadium? And I said, you bet your ass I do. And so for the last year or so, I've produced a overall unifying North Campus athletics plan, which stretches from Michigan Avenue to the railroad tracks, I think close on LaSalle, right behind Stewart Building. Because when I was there were 4 sports. There was like women's volleyball, tennis, men's basketball, and baseball, excluding the swimming teams. That's about right. Anyhow, now they have men's and women's basketball, men's and women's volleyball, men's and women cross country, men's and women track and field. I'm like, wait, you have a track and field team? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, where's your freaking track, bro? And they're like, well, we're trying to get there, right? And a lot others. So the athletic program has dramatically increased their available sports and their student athlete enrollment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What the school is missing, as the school is missing and many schools are, is the facilities that are 21st century, and,
Sure.
Because the weight room is the same weight room I played in 1985, and the weight room, or, the locker room, same locker room from 1985. And it's poor. I mean, it's poor to expect qualified student athletes when they have a choice to go to someone with brand new accommodations or no accommodations. You know what I mean? So the short version is I've designed a baseball field. I've designed an overall kind of unifying campus athletics concept, a field house with an indoor 200-meter track, etc. All kind of pro bono at the moment, right? Because it's a grassroots effort. The current economic climate's still the school to share their fundraising with the athletic program, although it's a key component to bringing more people onto campus. So while it's a project and it's been very well received by anyone and everyone I've shown so far, we're keeping it a bit on the down low because, it's not a project until we can fund it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And so the work I've put in so far is to get fundraising going and get some traction. And if we can get some money, take some steps to improve the athletic facilities on campus, build the stadium, build the eventually, depending on how we have to phase it, maybe we have to build the field house was an afterthought. We may have to go to the field house first. We got to move everyone out of Keating Hall to kind of rebuild Keating Hall. Not the building, but the HVAC systems, the locker rooms,
Yeah.
this, and so we're really trying to focus on this new crop of student athletes because they're significant now, and they don't have locker rooms. The women's soccer team has 2x10s on cinder blocks in a room in the railroad building that they walk through the fertilizer room to get to as their locker room. Not a D1 kind of experience, right?
Yeah, we're talking about a private school too. I mean,
yeah, we're not talking.
It's not inexpensive.
We need to become a varsity. That's a rookie program, right? We need to become a varsity program in all of our sports, and similarly, we need to become a varsity program in our general. Now I'll say it because it's kind of the focus. Domestic student enrollment, right? My daughter started at Cal Poly. All new dorms, all new swimming pools, all new recreation facilities, And you go to IIT, and it's kind of crickets, right? And so the school has to handle that first, if you know what I mean. And there's conversations and discussions, but it's kind of mandatory. You're not going to survive the future if you can't attract students, and you're going to stop seeing enrollment by academics alone. I asked my daughter, can she go out to a pool and lay out and kind of sunbathe and swim for no reason at all, as opposed to being in the athletic pool? Oh yeah, totally. At IIT, you can't. There's one pool in the basement of Keating. And is there a place to go play pickleball? Nope. Is there a place to, throw a Frisbee? Yes, of course. But is there, track and field for the field? Is there new dorms with, my daughter goes to Chick-fil-A and, all these other things. They're right on campus, and it's because they have modern accommodations, and so that to me is the overall where the school is heading, because it has to head there. And maybe saying it differently, the school needs to head there, and they really finally understand that. I guess finally I was asked if I would be willing to accept a position on the Illinois Tech athletic advisory committee. And I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it hasn't happened yet, meaning it's happened, but it's got to come from the president. I have to be invited, and that hasn't reached down to me yet. But in that, we have to promote what the value of these athletic facilities are in the context of, we may not enroll 60 student athletes from people coming to the facilities, but if we're opening these things up for high school sports, and we do open it up for tournaments, and we garner rental income from any of the facilities, it's bringing people, not just the athletes across campus, but their brothers and sisters, and their mothers and fathers, and maybe some kid says they're watching his brother play baseball. Like, this place is pretty cool. That's the hook right there,
Well, it's kind of crazy too, right? And so anybody who doesn't know where IIT is, it's on the south side of Chicago at 35th. So right across from the major highway on 9094 going through there. On the other side of the highway is the old Comiskey, right? I don't even know what it's called anymore. U.S. Cellular.
The new Comiskey. The old one's been torn down.
The new Comiskey. Yeah, right. Is the White Sox, right?
Yeah, White Sox
it's all kind of all connected right there. And I think that, IIT, and thinking about it, because I did my graduate work there.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they didn't really recruit me for basketball, but that's cool, man. I'm happy for you. I'm excited to see what craziness you got cooking. And I think
I'll share it with you later, and maybe we can post it if you'd like, or whatever.
Yeah, I'd love to. Because so much of that stuff starts with a vision.
So much of that starts.
Like, what is it?
The vision was, and here's the last thing, because then I do have to split. But when he said, "Would you?" I like, yes, because in 1985, when I showed up there 40 years ago, and I walked from campus to the Keating Hall, over 5 years, I don't know, 500 times, I'm like, man, one day I would love to be the guy that they call to say, add a stadium to Mises campus, right? Come on, crazy dreams of a kid. And 40 years later, for someone to call and say, hey, would you like to be the guy who adds a baseball stadium to Mises campus? Bet your ass I do, right? And if nothing else, the vision in the stadium I've designed, mission accomplished. I've designed a stadium. Now, let's see if we can get it built. But more, it's really grown to me personally that I was sitting inside the new Kaplan building at on campus with the athletic advisory committee or panel. I can't remember exactly. And I'm like, wow, that was 40 years ago. And now I'm sitting here in the halls of power. I'm like, this is pretty cool. You know what I'm saying?
Heck yeah.
And it's, so I'm pleased to be able to participate and respond and help where they are now. And, the good news is when, things go up and down, all you can do is go back up again. And that's kind of where we are. And so if we can get some traction on our grassroots and the school can get some traction on rebuilding the accommodations for the general student body, the sky's the limit, right? We got to go up. We can't really go down more. We're at the bottom. We got to get the up going.
Well,
all right.
I know you got to run, but who are you pulling for? Were you Dodgers or Blue Jays?
Blue Jays. But
right?
Blue Jays, of course. But as I mentioned, I think yesterday was I was watching them in one of the later innings of one of the first round games, and I'm like, there's no one stopping these guys, the Dodgers.
I know.
There's no one. I was completely surprised that the Blue Jays did stop them. I said to my daughter, Blue Jays will win the first one and then lose 4 in a row. I was wrong. I was perfect. And then after game 5, the Blue Jays were up 3-2. And I said, here's what's going to happen. The Dodgers are their backs against the wall. They're not losing. And once they don't lose 6, they ain't losing 7. However, when you go to extras in the last game of the World Series, it's a pretty successful season for both teams, right? I mean, how can you get any better? You just have to have the last bounce go your way, and so the last bounce stuck under the fence. Totally the proper call. Totally the proper call. No hesitation.
It just seemed, and you're a Cubs fan. It had all the indications of a straight up curse.
Totally.
Right? 2 outs away. There's no question there isn't some sort of curse on the Blue Jays.
That's right.
I don't know who's behind it, but
I think it's got to be my wife, and that's just all I'm thinking. All right, I got to go to the dentist and accompany my daughter.
Hey, man, always a pleasure. We're going to have you on again. We'll dig in some more. But take care of yourself.
I'll send you the stuff because I do want to talk to you.
Please do.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Take care.
Man, thanks for having me. All right. Bye.